Are you ready to see the rappers who've clashed with the most feared man in hip-hop right now? Because today, we're diving into the complete history of every conflict Kendrick Lamar has had. From his feuds with some of the most respected MCs of all time to the most popular ones today, Kendrick, despite being seen as one of the least boastful, has targeted these artists with full force. Whether he's initiated disputes to revive the competitive aspect of rap music that many say is lacking nowadays, or he's defending his honor against his greatest rivals, Kendrick Lamar never shies away from a lyrical battle, even though he often keeps a low profile when it comes to his competition in the booth. So, if you're ready to see the rappers who have sworn against Kendrick and have tried to knock him down from the high esteem much of the hip-hop world holds for him today, let's not waste any time. Without further ado, let's dive into it now. Before we look at all the head-to-head battles Kendrick has been involved in over the years, we need to examine the very moment that made Kendrick Lamar a target for so many in the rap world. This moment, of course, was his now iconic feature on Big Sean's Control track. With this 2013 record, Kendrick Lamar established himself as a rapper who wasn't here to play games. He boldly declared himself the king of both the East and West Coasts and, of course, called out by name who he believed were the most popular rappers in the world at the time, letting them know that even though he may love those near the top, because this is hip-hop, he intends to destroy each of their careers. While some rappers, like Mac Miller, joked about the verse and only motivated someone like Pusha T to push harder against Kendrick and everything he stands for in rap music, other rappers called out by Lamar took offense to his comments. At the top of this list, almost no one took it worse at the time than Big Sean. From outshining Big Sean on his own track to calling him out by name, even though Control wasn't included on Big Sean's album, Hall of Fame, due to sample clearance issues when it was released just 2 weeks later, people began to speculate that maybe Sean did feel something about Kendrick after all. Years later, in 2015, Sean would finally begin to reveal his true thoughts about the song, stating there was a lot of negativity in it, which is why it didn't make it onto his Hall of Fame album. From here, things would only heat up as Sean dropped his Me, Myself, and I freestyle, where he threw some jabs in Kendrick's direction. Although these lines alluded to Kendrick's Control verse, Sean tried to steer away from an all-out war with Kendrick by saying it was aimed at his fans, not Lamar himself. But after Kendrick and Sean appeared together on DJ Khaled's track Holy Key in the summer of 2016, the tension between the two would continue to simmer. When everyone heard Sean use a similar flow to Kendrick's Control, it became clear that while things might not be entirely hostile between the two, Big Sean was still seeking revenge on Kendrick, trying to flip what Kendrick did on its head. At this point, although Sean clearly still felt stung by Control, things didn't turn completely bitter between him and Kendrick until Sean released No More Interviews, an introspective track addressing various issues he had with different people in his life. Naturally, Kendrick caught some strays here. Now, with Sean's verses on this track, people saw it as a direct shot at Kendrick. Many at the time considered Kendrick the savior of hip-hop, and after continuing to hint that Kendrick didn't see him on Control again and again, Kendrick finally clapped back after years of subliminal messages. This came in the form of The Heart Part 4, a prelude to his fourth album, Damn, where he told Sean to back off, suggesting it was pathetic for him to keep tiptoeing around his name. And as the original version of Element, from Damn, leaked, if there was any doubt that these bars weren't about Big Sean, it confirmed they were, as Kendrick called out Sean by name. While this bar would have been wild if it had been released when the song dropped, looking back retrospectively, having such a direct diss might have aged the listening experience as a whole. Given that all Big Sean did was complain about Kendrick for years, and considering nobody ever thought Sean was a serious threat to Lamar on any level, it makes sense that this never escalated further from here. Today, despite all the beef they had in the past, it's said that Kendrick and Sean are on good terms, as evidenced by Big Sean's 2020 track, Deep Reverence, which references their past tension but also suggests a resolution. He mentioned that after Nipsey Hussle's death, he reached out to Kendrick and they resolved any issues they had. Meanwhile, Big Sean had one of the most notable beefs in Kendrick Lamar's career, following his Control verse. The fallout from this feature didn't stop there, as many of the rappers called out in the song responded, and even more rappers who weren't mentioned felt disrespected by Kendrick. Rappers like Bo Papoose, Joe Budden, and Joel Ortiz dissed Kendrick with their own tracks, which he never acknowledged. The most prominent rapper to challenge Kendrick during this period was Lupe Fiasco. Lupe responded to Kendrick under pressure from fans, and his intricate flow switches and language changes in his diss track made it a significant moment. Looking back, Lupe's efforts only sparked a one-sided feud, with Lupe trying to undermine Kendrick's skills as a rapper for over a decade. Recently, Lupe claimed that Drake is a better MC than Kendrick. While Lupe Fiasco is one of the most skilled lyricists in hip-hop history, his constant attempts to diminish Kendrick's success clearly stem from jealousy. When comparing Lupe and Kendrick, it's evident that they are very similar artists, with the main difference being Kendrick's sustained mainstream success over the years, which Lupe hasn't achieved to the same extent. Everything Lupe says about Kendrick now sounds bitter, as if he's just trying to oppose the general opinion. Although this issue has been mostly one-sided with Kendrick Lamar, he has recently started to respond forcefully to many rappers who have subtly dissed him over the years. Who knows, after he and Drake settle their differences, we might finally see him address Lupe once and for all. In a time where rappers criticize their opponents over almost anything, the last thing you'd want in a diss track about you is for someone to say you smell bad. As we've seen recently with Kendrick Lamar, he can take any minor flaw and turn it into a humiliating hit song. Now, let's talk about another major adversary of Kendrick Lamar alongside Lupe Fiasco. Another highly regarded rapper who disparaged Kendrick after the Control verse and all the ensuing commotion was Jay Electronica. Despite appearing alongside Kendrick and Big Sean on the track, Jay Electronica, known for taking years to release anything, didn't come at Kendrick until 2016. In a live stream, he mentioned he only liked one song by Kendrick and claimed that Kendrick himself would admit that he could outshine him. Jay Electronica continued by saying that Kendrick is his son, and that Lamar wished he could be him. Following this, Jay released a track titled The Curse of Mayweather, defending his claims and skills. He implied that, like Floyd Mayweather, despite not frequently releasing music, he could destroy anyone at any time. However, less than a month later, Kendrick clapped back at Jay with his project Untitled Unmastered, specifically on the 7th track. Kendrick addressed the situation, finishing Jay with the line, "You could never end a career if it never starts." Since Jay never responded to Kendrick and hadn't released a single album in nearly a decade, there was nothing he could say in his defense. It's safe to say that while Kendrick didn't destroy Jay outright, he definitely made him retreat and never attack him again. Another short-lived issue in Kendrick's career that most people have forgotten today was his beef with Meek Mill. After the Control verse, Meek Mill took Kendrick's name-calling as a high-degree insult and decided to launch an attack on Kendrick. Meek practically told Kendrick to remain a backpack rapper and stay away from the street life, suggesting he wasn't made for the dangerous side of the hip-hop world. In response, Kendrick not only told Meek Mill to back off, but also threatened him, declaring himself the king of all hip-hop in New York City. When Meek tried to imply that Kendrick was scared to act tough off the mic and talk the same way he did on Control, Kendrick's actions in Meek's rival city effectively shut him down. Meek Mill, while proving that he can be famous for his conscious thoughts, has shown he is unafraid and will destroy any rapper who crosses his path. Now, among all the issues Kendrick has been involved in, the most amusing is undoubtedly between him and French Montana. French initially went after Kendrick during a Breakfast Club interview, expressing anger that the 2016 Grammys were essentially about rewarding Kendrick Lamar and To Pimp a Butterfly. He claimed that the album was bad for hip-hop because it was diverting attention from street rap. Kendrick clearly thought the same after dissing him in the same verse where he dissed Big Sean in the original version of Element for dry hating. Since Kendrick never released this version of the song, he probably realized that fighting with a rapper as untalented as French Montana simply wasn't worth his words. However, maybe Kendrick should have responded because in 2020, French came out again, claiming he had more hits than Kendrick. At this point, Kendrick was secluded, writing his 2022 album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It's unclear if he even knew French said this. The funniest part of this situation is that while French kept defending his opinion, other rappers, like Young Thug, stepped in to tell French how wrong he was. When it comes to the strangest feuds involving Kendrick Lamar, French Montana attacking him is simply hysterical. Yet, nothing is stranger than what happened between him and Macklemore. Although Macklemore had a lot of respect for Kendrick, He was practically positioned as his biggest enemy in the public eye when he took home the Grammy for Best Rap Album over Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City. This made Macklemore one of the most disliked men in hip-hop. After winning, Macklemore texted Kendrick to apologize for winning the award, which might have suggested there was no animosity between them. However, when Macklemore posted his text thread with Kendrick for everyone to see on social media, Kendrick later said it wasn't cool and made the apology seem performative. While this wasn't a full-blown feud, it's safe to say that due to how Macklemore handled winning the Grammy over Kendrick, Lamar has no respect for him now. Seeing all these incidents and feuds Kendrick has been involved in over the years, it's truly crazy to see how varied the respect and skill levels of rappers who have come at him are. But of all the issues that have defined his career, one we'll be talking about for years is what happened recently between him and J. Cole. Kendrick and Cole have been praised for keeping lyrical rap alive in the mainstream for over a decade. They have been at the top of the hip-hop mountain for quite some time, and were once such good friends that Cole defended Kendrick in a physical altercation with someone many now see as the most notorious man in hip-hop. As time passed, Kendrick and J. Cole seemed to drift apart. This distancing became evident when Cole spent the entire 2023 to 24 period collaborating with Kendrick's biggest rival, Drake. Cole and Drake even released a song asserting that while they and Kendrick are the three greats in rap, Cole and Drake are the top two MCs of our time, overshadowing the first-person shooter. This seemed to ignite a fire under Kendrick, leading him to drop his most aggressive verse in over a decade, targeting both Cole and Drake on a future Metro Boomin track. In this verse, Kendrick declared that there aren't three greats in rap, only one king, himself. Cole and Drake immediately took issue with Lamar's claim. Just 14 days after Kendrick released this intense verse, Cole responded with his own diss track titled 7-Minute Drill. While many of Cole's insinuations about Kendrick were subtle and seemed half-hearted, it appeared that Kendrick had already gained the upper hand against the rapper he had been compared to for over a decade. What made this feud even more astonishing was what happened next, something unprecedented in hip-hop. Just 2 days after releasing his diss track, J. Cole apologized to Kendrick and said he would pull 7-Minute Drill from streaming services. Although this move was heavily criticized at the time, it showed that Cole might have made a smart decision to avoid getting caught in the crossfire of a feud filled with genuine animosity. Meanwhile, the ongoing battle between Kendrick and Drake has taken an unpredictable turn. Cole's decision to step back from the conflict might have been wise, recognizing the deep-seated animosity and choosing not to insert himself further into the volatile situation. It is said that none other than Kendrick Lamar's close collaborator, Schoolboy Q, advised J. Cole to step away from the conflict while he still could. As time passed, this advice made more sense, adding to the strange chapter in Cole's career. Beyond this short-lived issue, the feud that has truly defined Kendrick Lamar's career is his rivalry with Drake. After more than a decade of subliminal disses, this feud has become one of the biggest in hip-hop history, not just recently, but of all time. It's understandable why the two most prominent hip-hop artists of our generation despise each other, but it wasn't always this way. Drake featured Kendrick on his Take Care album, took him on his first arena tour, and made a guest appearance on Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City album. It seemed like they would continue to support each other as time went on. However, after Kendrick released Control and called out the top rappers of the moment, Drake took it worse than even Big Sean did. In his album, Nothing Was the Same, released just weeks after the Control verse, Drake had subliminal shots directed at Kendrick. From that point, neither backed down, facing off time and again over the years. Key moments included Kendrick's BET freestyle calling Drake sensitive and a variety of shots Drake took at Kendrick in the mid-2010s. They dissed each other in so many songs, albums, and features that it became hard to keep track. Each time it seemed like they might finally stop and resolve things, another rapper or incident would prevent us from seeing the clash we anticipated. After Drake was seen attending Kendrick's Big Steppers tour in 2022, it seemed like the feud might finally be over. However, Drake began provoking Kendrick again, mocking rappers who take years to release new music in songs and concert rants. He also excluded Kendrick from the top 2 of the 3 greats in first-person shooter. This pushed Kendrick to his limit, leading him to call out Drake more directly than ever before. This ignited one of the wildest and most competitive battles in hip-hop. Drake initially attacked Kendrick with a track full of boasts, followed by a diss where he used fake versions of West Coast legends Tupac and Snoop Dogg to mock Kendrick. He tried to make Kendrick seem pathetic by implying he had nothing to say against Drake. Despite these provocations, Kendrick's responses have shown that this feud is far from over, keeping fans on edge as the rivalry continues to unfold. Beyond this point, it seemed that Drake had hit a nerve with Kendrick. From here, Lamar played it masterfully, perfectly diffusing and countering each of Drake's attacks. This made all of his responses even more impactful. Whether it was with Euphoria, where he warned Drake not to take things further or face dire consequences, or Meet the Grams, which stomped on Drake's biggest attack in this feud, Kendrick has managed to stay 10 steps ahead. One of the defining moments in their feud was Kendrick's track, Family Matters, where he not only defended himself but launched a severe attack on Drake's career. Kendrick ran with the narrative that Drake had been disrespectful towards women, calling out his immature actions and even hinting at a potential hidden daughter. This forever altered Drake's reputation, making him look worse than ever in the public eye. Kendrick's song, Not Like Us, further solidified his position, smashing Drake's chart records and streaming numbers while giving the world a hit song that mocked Drake in an unprecedented way. As this feud continued, Kendrick Lamar proved that he is truly the boogeyman of hip-hop. He doesn't just out-rap and out-strategize his opponents. He beats them at their own games and ensures their careers become a living nightmare. So, there you have it. The story of every rap feud Kendrick Lamar has been involved in. As you can see, no matter if it was a strange altercation, a back and forth with subliminal jabs, or an all-out battle like we've seen with Drake, Kendrick Lamar becomes more terrifying the angrier he gets. That said, I have to ask you, do you think Kendrick Lamar is the most feared rapper in the game? I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Subscribe if you love Kendrick Lamar. See you soon, my legend.